Hi, everyone. Mike Jacobowski here with Mindful Practices. Families, welcome. Tonight's a focus on social emotional learning for you, for your children, or caregivers, identifying some practices and strategies to help yourselves, to help your children show up and engage on a daily basis. Let's get started. Identifying social emotional learning. So, what is social emotional learning? You may have heard this term. So, we want to discuss what it is. It's been around. The Center for Social Emotional Learning, CASEL, has been around for about 30 years now. Right now, children, adolescents, about 1 in 3 are identifying with having some type of mental health disorder, with anxiety being the most common. So, our students have a lot going on, but social emotional learning is a process through which children and adults understand and manage our emotions. We set and achieve positive goals. We feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So that definition came from CASEL, which is a center and collaborative for social emotional learning. And one thing that stands out to me, families, is for us to understand and manage our emotions. I think as adults, oftentimes we neglect that. Um, and if we're neglecting our own emotions or being self-aware of how we're feeling, our children then suffer. So we do have to take care of ourselves to make sure that we are self-reflective, we're self-aware, in order to best work with our children, with our students, day in and day out. So self-awareness, you heard me just mention that term, self-awareness. When we think about self-awareness, it's the ability to understand and identify one's emotions, our own thoughts and values, and how they influence behavior across contexts. So for myself, as a former Chicago public school principal, I often had to be self-aware of how I was feeling in different moments. I was working with children, then in the next minute, I might be working with a staff member and or adult. So there's times where I had to engage in what's called a pop check, which we'll do in a minute, to make sure I was aware of how I was feeling in that moment, and then put some practices in place to help me be in a better place to work in that new situation. So self-awareness is a link between social emotional learning, our own well-being, and family engagement. So I talked about myself as a principal the last 12 years. I was a Chicago Public School principal of an elementary school. And if I let's say I worked in the cafeteria from 11 a.m. to 12:30, an hour and a half, 90 minutes in that cafeteria, I'd often walk out, maybe eat my lunch or go into a class, and I'd have to engage in what's called a pop check. A pop check stands for pausing, owning how we're feeling, and putting the practice into play. So for me, it's often difficult to pause. So if we pause, feet on the floor, shoulders back, and just focus on some breath work. We inhale in, we exhale out. You don't have to close your eyes, but just taking some time to take some breaths, slow ourselves down, and to identify how I'm feeling. I'm feeling anxious in this moment. I'm worried about this situation, but just becoming self-aware of how we're feeling will better help us engage in the next situation that we take part in. So then owning it, I'm honing out that feeling, and then I'm putting the practice into play. It might be a brain massage later, which we'll do in a minute. It might be an arm massage or a pressure massage. It might be a 5 finger breath where I'm engaging this 5 finger breath. But with mindful practices, and with Five to Thrive, you have different strategies that you can use throughout the year, throughout the day, to help you become more self-aware, and to help you become more self-regulated as well. So with that brain massage, if you follow these directions, you're going to tap the top of your head with your fingers and move down to your cheeks and my chin. So I'm giving myself a nice brain massage. Now this is free, which is really nice. I don't have to go to a masseuse for this. I notice, the tingles in the top of my head and my cheeks. Take a few moments to do that. Massage the top of your head and while gently taking some breaths. And massaging my temples in a circular motion while breathing. And this is something you may not want to do in public. But as I said, if I were in a stressful situation, I might go to my office, close my door for a couple of minutes or a minute, 30 seconds, and engage in that brain massage to help put me in a better place. Families, remember you have access to Five to Thrive. It's a great resource for you to build emotional life skills through regular self-paced check-ins. So your students, your children would engage in these check-ins every day of their energy, how they're feeling, their mood, and then you can have discussions about those, and then your children can engage in some of those self-regulation activities. So you have that access to that Five to Thrive. if they're anxious about Valentine's Day, if they're anxious about testing coming up here in March, it's state mandating testing, which nobody likes. So if your students are anxious about those type of situations, it's helpful to start practicing some of these self-regulation activities on a daily basis.